Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our second episode of Rooted in Wellbeing. I have some fine gentlemen here with me this afternoon, and I'm so excited to highlight them for you. One, some of you are very familiar with, others you are just beginning to get to know are the newest guide who's popping up here in our session. So I'll give them a formal intro in just a moment. But I just wanted to let you know they're two handsome men here, so enjoy them while I'm speaking. And with all that being said, before I even get into any intros or what we are, who we do, anything along those lines, I'm curious. Drop 111 in the chat if you have been to any one of our Life Guides events before. Drop 222 in the chat if this is your first time here with us. And then if you're like extra bonus, jazzed about life, wanting to drop more in the chat, I want to know where in the world you are tuning in from. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you all dabble in the chat. I've got some intros to do for this event. So, we are life guides. We are a benefit that your employer has paid for you to utilize for free. And we do a couple of different layers of work. The first layer of work that we do, and it's what you're on right now, is our events. So we host virtual events weekly and monthly where you have the opportunity to come learn and come grow and come be a part of something bigger than yourself and allow yourself the space to learn, allow yourself the space to be expanded, allow yourself the space to just be present. I know a lot of times we get like so work focused and like so tunnel vision, but sometimes it's nice to just be outside of that, get some insight, and then be able to go on with our days. And if you believe that energy is contagious, at the very, very least, you have the three of us pouring the most loving, sweet energy into you. So by the end of this, you will walk away feeling better. So that's one part of what Life Guides is. But the bigger part of what Life Guides is we are a professional and personal mentorship and coaching platform. So your company has a unique link that you're able to go to and choose the categories in your life where you're looking to grow. And then it matches you with guides who are people just like the two that you see on your screen here who can help you grow. Everyone is based on their life experience, what they've been through, how they can help you grow, how they can help you show up. And you get to read their profiles and connect with them and then build a bond with someone and have that level of accountability and coaching and mentorship to help you grow. So, with that, we are on episode 2 of our Rooted in Wellbeing series, which is all about well-being. We had April, that was all about physical well-being, which I am so ecstatic. You all have been two things. You all have been so great about filling out the surveys, doing the polls, making sure that I have the information that I need to continue to help us grow overall. And then two, you all are so active in the chat as well that I get so much feedback and I get so much insight on what we're doing, what's working. And listen to this. In the month of April alone, 88% of you who were focused, even just for one session, on physical well-being with us here in Life Guides, there was an 88% of you saw an increase in your physical well-being through just being with us in April. And that is a huge thing because I remember times in my life where I wanted to make a change, but sometimes it would take 2 years. But it took you all 30 stinking days. If that doesn't deserve a round of applause, I do not know what does. So with that, that's why we're here. I don't just put on these events so that it sounds cool and exciting, whatever. I want to see change and I want to see you all becoming better versions of yourselves. So the way that Life Guides works, there's two different layers. The first way is Life Guides is about 75% proactive. It's the way of being like, okay, like for me, I have a guide for finances. So for me, it was proactive, like, okay, I wasn't really taught the best financial responsibility. I want to learn it. So I'm going to get a guide who can help me see a new way, change my mindset, change my generational patterns, and have a better financial responsibility. Now I'm almost entirely out of debt and planning to move to a different country. And that's all because I had a guide help me switch and be in my change. So that was proactive. I wasn't in a crazy place. I wasn't at $0, super struggling, whatever, but I saw that there was a change that I wanted to make and I made it. 25% of people who use life guides, it's more reactive. So something big is happening in their life and they need support as they're navigating that transition. So life guides is here for you. And you'll hear from our guides and you'll continue to be showcased who's here for you, who can support you, and how we're growing. So with all that being said, that's a lot of information. I want to see what you all dropped in the chat before we really, really dive in. Okay, look at you. A lot of you are new here. Let's see. Carrie, Kristen, Brandon, Gabrielle, welcome, welcome, welcome. A lot of Arizona in the house, a lot of Texas in the house. I love it. Well, welcome everyone. We're super happy to have you. And we have our very own Aaron here. He is one of our guides, and I'm actually going to drop his profile in the chat for you for those of you who might be interested in using him as a guide and seeing what he's about and having him support you on your journey. So, Aaron is a seasoned motivational speaker, life coach, and spiritual guide who has spent over 20 years helping others find clarity and purpose. Beginning as a social media educator, he has traveled across the US to support those seeking guidance. Specializing in numerology, astrology, meditation, shadow work, and relationship coaching, he empowers individuals on their spiritual journeys. His own awakening, sparked by profound personal challenges, which we will hear a little bit about today, led him to embrace self mastery, entrepreneurship, and a deeper connection with his higher self. Now, as a mentor, Aaron helps others discover their purpose, overcome obstacles, and achieve their manifestation goals. Welcome, Aaron. We are so happy to have you here. And as we start our Rooted in Wellbeing conversation, do you mind telling us a little bit about your story and where you were prior to prioritizing your mental well-being?
Absolutely. As always, thank you for that introduction. It never gets old. It's like a perfect, rose petals thrown. So I appreciate you. What's up to everybody in the chat? Once again, my name is Aaron Rose. It is beautiful to be here with you all. So, my story, the guy that you see here today, locks, head, all this other stuff right here, I was not this person. I was a working for Delta Airlines for about 13 years. I was chasing the acting dream literally from Atlanta to New York to Los Angeles. And I was just full blown. I want to be an actor. I want to be on TV. I want to do this. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. I was overworking myself. I was really stressed, pretty much the same thing that a lot of people was going through. And one day I remember specifically December 2018, I had an argument with my significant other at the time, which led me into reading a book called The Four Agreements. Usually, whenever I get upset, I'll always clean or iron or do something to just make me feel better. And the book was right there. So I was like, you know what? Let me pick up this book. So I read the book, and then the first paragraph, literally where it said, "Your life is a dream." The first read, I picked up, I felt like I was in a Truman Show. I was like, something seems off. Why does it feel like the book is talking to me? The second time I read it, my third eye literally popped open and all this information just started to pour in. I felt like I literally like died and became a brand new person. Long story short, after my awakening and I started to learn what life was, I started to change my thinking, my mindset, my ways, my abilities. And then next thing you know, the unthinkable happened. Because I switched my timelines of who I was, I lost my job. My job let me go in the weirdest way. I lost my relationship. I became homeless in the car for 6 months. I lost my apartment. My family abandoned. I don't want to say abandoned me, but I abandoned them. And I was just in the worst place possible. All I had was my mind and, me and my mind and trying to fix everything. And it was hell on earth that I went through. So I was thrown into that. But beautifully, all of my trials of hitting rock bottom led me to do self research on myself. I'm a life path number one. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but that leadership ability was like, do what's needed to be done. So fast forward to 7 years, I became an entrepreneur. When I lost everything, I'm now an entrepreneur. I do life coaching, I do personal training, I do tarot card reading, I do physical training. I am an artist by all trades. I mean, every gift and ability that's in me is now like brought out. And it came because of the darkest parts of me realizing that I needed to change. So that's pretty much my life in a nutshell. I teach everybody everything that I've been through. And had I not gone through it, I wouldn't have been able to actually show people this is the way. So I take what took me 7 years and squeeze it all into like what you can learn in like 30 days.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it does take a huge shift in your life to realize that it's time to make a change. And sometimes the darkest moments in our lives, even though it feels like catastrophic and sometimes like we'll never get out of it, when we look back and when we're on the other side of it, there's so much gratitude for, wow, like I had to go through that. I had to become the person that could endure that. I had to learn the lessons that I had to learn during that time. And life isn't always easy. That's a guarantee. But if we can one have resources and have support, it makes life a lot easier. But two, and we'll talk about this as we continue on, accepting that part of the journey is so 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 important. So as we're going along with the session, I'm about to intro Christopher here. I wanted to drop in something in the chat for you. Our Connect series is a monthly series, and it's 2 sessions a month. So the first one is this one here where you're here with us, but the second one is next Wednesday at the same time. You get live mentorship with me and Chris and Aaron. Now I dropped a worksheet. It is a fillable PDF worksheet that you can access right now in the chat. It covers topics that we're going to be covering in the session, but it gives you space to reflect and consider how you want to change in your life. This is a worksheet that we usually exclusively only use in the mentorship session, but I wanted to give you all a chance to start thinking about it now while it's all fresh, while we're having the conversation, and then bring it into the session next Wednesday. So I'm also going to drop the link for that session in the chat as well. If you'd like to register and be a part of it, I highly suggest it because you get live coaching and live mentorship without having to book a one-on-one call with our guides who are here to support you, and you can just get curious and ask questions. So with that, I have Christopher here, and I'm going to drop his life guides link in the chat as well for you. If you are intrigued by him and you feel like he's someone who can support you, there you go. And also, all of that being said, it is more than enough for you to be here on the session, and you don't have to do anything else. But if you're inspired to, and if you're really the type of person who's either focused on growth or wants to be focused on growth, then all of these other opportunities are open for you. So Christopher is originally from Tucson, Arizona, and he served 13 years in the U.S. Army as a traveling musician, desire to see the world. After 9/11, his path shifted from passion to duty, placing him where he was needed rather than where he was wanted. Eventually, he began a journey of self-inquiry that led him to earn a master's in occupational therapy and psychology. This curiosity deepened into studies of regenerative medicine, detoxification, mindset programming, and spiritual exploration. So, again, if those are things that interest you or might interest you, perfect person, right? In 2020, he became a full-time caregiver for his father after a traumatic brain injury and epilepsy diagnosis. The following year, his mother passed from pneumonia, profoundly reshaping his understanding of life, death, and healing. Today, he splits his time between a biodynamic farm in northern New Mexico and a coastal community in Costa Rica. He's committed to living a life of purpose, connection, and freedom, and he'd be honored to support you in doing the same. So, Christopher, same question. Tell us a little bit about your story and where you were prior to prioritizing your mental well being.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Kira. It's an honor to be here with you, Aaron, and everyone in the chat. Thank you for your time and your attention today and being here. So I'll cut right to the chase. That bio kind of summed it up in terms of my past. And in 2018, I had a massive awakening that was culminated in my indoctrination into the military culture and its use of alcohol, where I had a revelation, you can call it like an epiphanal insight, where after a 3-day bender, my spirit left my body. And I had this insight that every time I consumed alcohol, not only was my body a harmonic match for anything else that was, lingering around, but my spirit would wait outside of my body to come back in until essentially it was safe to do so. That insight woke me up immediately and I never looked back. It was like a spontaneous awakening. And it's carried me forward to where I am now, to being the person that I am now and supporting my father and co creating community here in Costa Rica. So in a nutshell, that's what it's really all about for me. It's all about service. It's all about intention. And as you'll hear, how important our attention is throughout all of this. So thank you, Kira.
Thank you. And I want to ask you a follow-up question with that. Um, because yeah, I can understand a lot of that, but I feel like I would love to hear a little bit more about maybe why you were going on those 3-day benders. Like where was your mind? Were you struggling with thoughts, or was it just like a societal thing where everyone was drinking, or where, like, what was happening inside of you before you had that moment that changed so much?
I think I had some very deep discordant beliefs about who I actually was on a professional level. At that time, I was working as a licensed registered occupational therapist. And here I was going into people's homes, giving them advice on how to better their lives, but I couldn't put the bottle down. And the longer this went on, I saw the internal hypocrisy within myself. And there was a progression of self confrontation, eventually leading into self acceptance and self love that, up until that point, I tried many times to stop the habit, but it was never successful. It wasn't until I actually accepted it all through the honoring intention of, when it's time, it's time. And I could not have predicted how or when or where it was going to occur. And yeah, I just have so much gratitude for the entire experience.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
It's a very freeing journey. And also, side note, on our YouTube, we have a session on Motivational Monday that we did about the effects of alcohol on the brain. No one's telling you to stop drinking if you enjoy drinking, whatever. It's a big societal thing. But also, I'm the type of person, I just like to know. I like to know what things do to me, and I like to be able to make educated decisions. So if that piques your interest, you can go to our YouTube and find that recording and tune in. It's a really cool session. Really, really cool session. So, with
Mm.
that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the struggle with our mental minds. And you'll see in the worksheet, there are some questions specifically about your mental mind that I invite you to get a little bit inquisitive with. Questions like, in what ways have I been disconnected from my mind? And in what ways does it feel like my mind is against me? Especially the question, in what ways does it feel like my mind is against me? For those of you who feel comfortable, I would love to hear in the chat what that feels like for you, maybe what some of those thoughts are, or ways that you may betray yourself without even realizing it, or just having it be something that you don't necessarily have control over, which is real. We've all been there, we've all experienced that, and you never know what you share in the chat may spark a moment of inspiration or a moment of enlightenment for someone that they didn't know that they needed to. And that's why I love building this community space, because we all get to show up together.
Mm.
So, with that, oh, I love that, Audrey. I often think that my mind is against me when I think I'm not good enough. Exactly. So, a lot of I feel there are a few things, and this might be more of like a little bit of a mental exploration, but I want you to think about, and you don't have to come to the answer now. I'm definitely a ponderer and a percolator. It's usually afterwards that I have my aha moments, but I want you to think about whose voice is in your mind. Is it your mom's? Is it your dad's? Is it your teachers? Is it society's? Is it your boss's? Is it the voice of who you think you should be versus the voice of who you actually are? Is it ideas that were told to you that you just accepted because you didn't know any better? Those are all really important, because as we start getting into these conversations about mental well-being, knowing what's going on up here is so important. And it doesn't necessarily mean that things have to change right now, or that we have to go through this huge overhaul immediately. But starting to ask these questions and starting to have our clarity is wildly huge. I I was the type of person who was deeply in denial about my struggles. I was deeply in denial about the pain that certain scenarios in my life had caused me. And I just walked through the world like a warrior. And I just kept doing everything, and I kept showing up. And and we'll have an emotional well being conversation next month, but I was so emotionally unavailable in so many ways. I didn't cry for 14 years when some of the worst things happened to me. But my mindset was denial. So my mind was protecting me from all of the things that I didn't have the capacity yet to actually acknowledge, whether it was sadness or whether it was deep grief or whether it was wishing that certain things hadn't happened that I didn't necessarily have control over. But I just powered through everything. And it's interesting with that mindset, and you can drop 333 in the chat if you relate to this mindset, but I had the mindset of like, as long as I keep moving and as long as I keep doing and as long as I keep like climbing the ranks, making my resume look better, becoming better professionally, then none of that, then I don't have to listen to that. And I don't have to, um, none of those thoughts necessarily matter. I can just ignore them and I'll be fine.
Mm.
But the truth is, what happens is that those will always be there and those will always be playing an active role in your life. So for me, I didn't necessarily have the ability to acknowledge that I needed support and I needed people. I was so hyper independent. I struggled with resting. I struggled with actually taking care of myself. I didn't necessarily struggle with like the negative thoughts because I was so good at denying everything. I was so good at pretending that everything was good that I didn't even know otherwise. But I just did more and I did more and I never, ever, ever took care of myself in the way that I needed. And I just thought, in our very productivity driven world, if I do more, then I'm doing better. But the reality was, doing more didn't make me better. It didn't make me better inside. It didn't make me a better person. It didn't make me a better worker, but it made me able to cope and deny and continue to live life in a place where I wasn't able to be fully myself. Because if you have all of these thoughts in your head, and if you don't take care of yourself, and if you're not pouring into yourself, what happens is you start getting into this place and the cycle of your life where you're not there's not a, like for me there wasn't like I wasn't enough. I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't good enough. I had to do more. And I thought that if I reached some certain peak of my life, everything would be great. And then when I reached that peak, like the one thing that I was looking for, nothing changed and nothing
Mhm.
was better. And I didn't understand. And those were the ways in which my mind was working against me. And those are the ways in which having society's programming and my parental programming and my immigrant grandparents' programming really just pushed me forward without ever acknowledging what my needs were. And it took a huge overhaul in my life to get to the point where I am now. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I actually know what I feel and I know who I am. And that's a bigger gift than having an amazing resume or having the job or whatever. And my life is more fulfilling now. I make probably twice as much as I made back when I was in that place. I've got better quality friends. I am more responsible. I have better accountability for my life. And sometimes it can be really hard to acknowledge that looking at the deep, dark stuff actually is what's going to get you to where you want to go. So, with all that being said, I know, Aaron, you have some of your story to share about what it was like to go through your dark night of the soul, what that looks like, and also advice for people to begin to really look at where they're at, accept that, and move through it. So, we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. So, just like you said, Kira, the darkest parts of you, had that not actually happened, you wouldn't have experienced, just like many of us, the best parts. And I want to get people to actually recognize colors are not bad at all, because we kind of get this sense of when we hear dark night of our soul or the black sides of everything or dark this and light, it's like in life they portrayed everything as light and bright, as amazing, great, and wise. And even though white and pure, it means pure like and light, at the same time, without the light there would not be the dark, without the dark there would not be the light. So I've learned that the darkest parts of your life are super important. I'll use a very good example. If you go to the beach, we all love the beach. The sun is the light. But what happens when you don't have any shade? It's like you would not want to enjoy the beach. You have to run to the area where there's no light to where you're actually able to have that balance. Now imagine when it's always in a cold place to where it's like always cold, you know, it brings your energy down. And even though we kind of love it, we're longing for the sun. But if we did not have the sun, then we would not be able to enjoy that. So I want to encourage everybody that when you think about the darkest parts, it just means the hidden area, okay? Related to a closet as well too. Right now I'm looking at my closet and there's no light in there and it's dark and it's closed off. And if I decide not to visit it, there's a lot of stuff in there. But if I keep it shut off and it's junky and crazy, it's not going to be great. There's going to be a lot of negative energy in there. But if I decide to actually open up my closet and acknowledge it and allow the light to come in and take time to do that, that is the same thing that we deal with within ourselves. If anybody's ever seen the movie, and I really highly recommend that you watch it, it's called Inside Out. It's a Pixar film. I love being in touch with like my childhood side, but Inside Out is a Pixar film that if you have not seen it, I encourage watching it because it talks about emotions. It's about a little girl who's going through all these aspects in her life. And there's a character named Joy. And I don't know if anybody ever, if you've seen it and you felt like Joy, that was me. Always joyous, always happy, always great, always this. Everything is peace, beautifulness. But when you just stay in that always loving joy, we all know the world that we live in isn't the best. You know, we want everything to be so joyous. But at the end of the day, there are things that make us upset. There are things that make us mad. It's not really balanced. So because that energy of joy always wanted to take over, that girl that was going through things, it was a side of her it was joy and sadness. Joy didn't want sadness to come in because it's like, we don't want to be sad. That's bad. Let's be happy. Let's be great. But as the girl was going through a life of dark and light, because the joy was always trying to take over, when she was sad, she put on a fake smile. And a lot of us have a tendency to do that. Kira, whenever you ask me, hey, Aaron, how are you doing today? After my awakening, I stopped just giving simple answers because most people would just say, oh, I'm doing well, knowing that their life isn't doing so great. And when we have a tendency to just say that and we don't tell people how we really feel, if you're always saying you're good and you're really at that point to where you're going to break, everybody's going to think you're Superman or Superwoman. But if you honestly say, you know what, today's not the best day, that allows someone to say, you know what, let me give you a hug. Let me give you this. Let me give you that. So we have to stop pushing our fears, our doubts, and our disbeliefs and thinking that we always want to hear everything is okay. Because seriously, everybody, if you know the experience of feeling bad and you just wish somebody gave you a simple hug or a simple pat on your back or a handshake or something, it really brings that up. So I always teach people, admire the darkest parts of your life, because if you don't, it doesn't allow you to get help. It doesn't allow you to seek guidance. It doesn't allow you to be balanced. Me, for example, once again, I'm a people person. I'm an actor. I'll always be on stage and acting a certain way, making sure my hairstyle looks a certain way, making sure you look perfect. But there are times to where when you don't want to be in front of everybody and you just want to let yourself breathe and let yourself down. But it gets overwhelming when you're always trying to be in the light and try to act perfect. And social media, as much as it's good, there's also dark parts because on social media, we have a tendency to always show the light parts. And what do we always do? We see somebody else's life and we're just like, I wish I can be like them. But a lot of people don't know those same people who are showing their light side, they could be experiencing the darkest parts of their life, but they're only going to show you the greatness. And when I was chasing to become an actor in my life, I was fooling myself. I'll give a beautiful example as to why I kind of ran away from the industry. Use a commercial that talks about maybe ADHD or any symptom that they have. They almost have like a pill for everything. You would see, and I was trained in this, the commercial comes on and it'll show you, are you dealing with this dark part of your life? And most people would say, yes, that's how they capture you. And then they would show you all these things about how you're dealing with something, but then they would say, oh, all of a sudden this pill will brighten your day up. Well, when I used to watch those commercials like everybody else, I didn't think anything of it. I was being tricked into thinking this is the best thing. But the dark part that I noticed about the industry is once I was taught what commercials did as actors, they said that this product, you are supposed to act like this product saved your life. These actors are not taking the pill. These actors don't even have these symptoms. But when you program to the mind to say, hey, do you have this? Well, let's put a fake person on here who's going to smile and say, this thing changed my life. And it's fooling everyone. Once I saw that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So to relate it back, I saw the deepest, darkest parts of myself. And because I hit rock bottom, it allowed me to say, this is what I need to change. And little by little, day by day, without rushing things, I slowly started to peel back the layers. And the dark sides of me allowed me to embrace that. Now I accept the fact and I tell everybody, hey, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all go through these insecurities. Every time I teach people now, the first thing I lead with is telling everybody all my darkest parts. And to my surprise, people are drawn to me even more. They're like, wait a minute, Aaron, you literally went through the same thing I went through. I'm like, yeah, don't come on my social media and just think that everything is great because I show that to you. I feel great, but when I connect with you, I'm going to say, hey, I deal with these same things because we all know on social media, it's almost like you become a celebrity and people just think that you're okay, but really you're not. So I encourage every single one of you to be honest with yourself. If you're not having a good day, tell your coworker, tell your friends, tell your family, or I should say people that you trust. Because if you don't, going about it alone could really hinder you and bring you down to like the worst parts of yourself.
Thank you for that. I think that's so beautiful. And, sometimes it is hard to acknowledge that. I used to use positivity as a shield for everything and I didn't know it, but I've got this unforgiving optimism in the world and I'll just think that everything's good and I would let people do whatever to me and I'd be like, it's fine, but it's not.
Yeah.
Having a mentor that I talk to sometimes like 4 times a day when I was deep in it, like in some deep stuff, was so helpful to be able to just talk and trust someone. But also, if you're not ready for that, just journal. If you've never taken a time to be like, I'm not feeling good today, and I'm going to acknowledge that, just write it in a journal, write 2 sentences, and just start letting yourself know where you're at and accepting that. So I think that's a perfect way to lead into Christopher's next part of the conversation with a little bit of pattern breaking strategies and the ways that we can see what we've got going on in our minds and the way that it's been running on whatever default it has been and looking at ways to begin to shift out of that and create new ways to feel and see and think through this beautiful thing that kind of runs these lives that we live.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, Aaron, in reflection, what I really appreciated was how ruthlessly transparent you are with your process and how that shines out. One of my favorite quotes is, when the heart breaks, it only lets more light in. It's the
Mhm.
cracks that allows that light to come in. So,
That's nice.
um, you know, when it comes to pattern breaking, and well, let me just say that this is all about mental well-being, but the reality is that the mind, the body, and the spirit, they're inseparable. That they are inner working states of being that at any given moment we could say that our emotions are influencing our thoughts, but is it our thoughts that are influencing our emotions? Like, what is it? Well, it's a feedback loop, right? And when we start to tap into the essence of what I feel is probably the most important realization I ever had, was realizing at any given moment this offering of choice, this perpetual gifting that is always available to us, in the fact that we can choose anything different in the moment. It could be as simple as, right now I am so overwhelmed, but I'm going to choose to care for myself in a way that allows me to just breathe deeply for 15 seconds. It could be as simple as that. And it doesn't have to be these macro, huge, life changing shifts in life, although those will occur, guaranteed. Yet it's the micro hacks that build up the momentum over a period of time where it's the small changes that amount to really big overall shifts in the long run. For me, what I realized in this perpetual offering of choice, and that was my greatest power. The moment I realized that it didn't matter what happened to me, my circumstances were merely a reflection of my own inner state. That's what I, as within, so without. These are like some deeper, metaphysical understandings, but it's true. The outer does indeed mirror our inner state. So once that got clear for me, and once I could accept and take full responsibility for my experience, then I started seeing this perpetual offering of choice as the greatest gift that could ever have been given to me. And so it's these micro choices of, you know what? Looking at a computer screen or looking at a phone, it is by no chance that this short form content, the reels, the shorts, the TikTok, is engineered to capture your attention in very short amounts and spurts of time, because they society, culture, they know in engineering these exact platforms that if they can get you to continue to flip and reel or doom scroll over and over and over again, then you won't realize that you're never really fixated on any one intention. Your attention is literally fragmented, and it's split, and it's fractalized into it's no longer a focused intention of, you know what, I'm just going to give myself 10 minutes to breathe. No, it's I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And what that does is that it literally inhibits our ability to focus. This is about mental well-being. So your attention is your greatest gift. It is the greatest currency that is available in the world. And in fact, it is the only currency that is used, because energy flows where the attention goes. Whatever you're giving your attention to in any given moment will only grow larger in strength and rapidity and speed, assured. It's guaranteed. So in that realization for me, it was like this huge awakening of responsibility. I'm literally I'm embodying this realization that my power is in my response. And so how I respond, in my ability to respond in the moment, is what's creating my reality. It's what's drawing the people and the circumstances into my life moment to moment, breath by breath. It was no longer the TV's fault or the politician's fault or the culture of the society. No, I had to take full responsibility for all of it. And that's how my life changed so dramatically in a way that I could not have anticipated. And it's all correlated on a deeper level to trust. And this is a deep question. I would love for people to respond in the chat, because trust is the baseline for your ability to take responsibility entirely for your experience, meaning you're not getting it wrong. You're not doing it incorrectly. In fact, you're doing it right. And the more responsibility you take for that experience, I promise you're going to create so much momentum where the shackles of judgment and self-worth, they will fall off one day, and you'll open your eyes and you're going to recognize with full, authentic, embodied realization that nobody could have given you this. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the one. So pattern breaks, micro breaks, it's all about momentum. It's the currency, and it's the emotional savings account that the more you put into that savings account by assuring your well-being, praising your innovation, reflecting honestly with the people that come into your life of how they're mirroring back to you unacknowledged or unaccepted parts of you that yet have fully been able to be recognized. I promise you it's going to come back to you 100-fold in ways that you can't even predict.
So beautiful. I love that so much. And I think that's a beautiful time. I actually Christopher and Aaron, I switched the way that we're doing this conversation a little bit because I feel like, Aaron, it's a perfect time for you to talk about meditation and how to hone in on that focus because it really is, I think about the world before social media, before TVs, before really, but a lot of ways that I live my life is like, what did we do before the Industrial Revolution? People danced, people spoke multiple languages, people learned instruments, people traveled and explored, and dancing and learning and acquiring new skills can all be free. We all have YouTube University. Are you kidding me? Like, you can do so much. But in a world where attention is so short, it's really hard to put like long-term focus and to focus on that delayed gratification of what does it look like to do something right now that's going to give me results for the rest of my life, not just for this moment. And it's, I mean, it's one of the reasons I think it's a great point as well to talk, and both of you mentioned it, about how social media isn't real. I ran a social media business for 5.5 years. I know that I was in some of the deepest struggles, pretending that everything was good, and I was selling a product and I was trying to get people to buy things. And it was always something that was bettering their life. But the way in which I went about it, at some point, it stopped being right for me, but I kept forcing it. And I look back and I don't necessarily have regrets, but I get sad about the fact that I thought that that's what I had to do because that's the way that social media is created as creators who are out there putting the things that you consume. And I keep deleting apps from my phone like once a week. I don't have TikTok on my phone. I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have Instagram on my phone. They all exist on my phone, but they're not on my home screen. So if you're looking at habits and pattern disrupting is like, how can I change what my body naturally does, which is like my body would naturally press the button for social media when I was bored. So instead, those buttons don't exist anymore. If I need to go on them to communicate with someone, I can literally search Instagram on my phone and pull it up and send someone a message, whatever. But as a default, that button isn't there for my brain to be triggered to utilize it anymore. And it's such a great tool. I also have a 1 minute restriction per day. If I ever touch it after a minute, it automatically shuts off, and I can unshut that off. But that also means that like I don't get the notifications as well. That would trigger my brain. Um, I feel like there was one other thing I was gonna say about that, but maybe that's it. So with that, oh yeah, so now I'm in a 6-month intensive fluency course for learning Spanish. I probably spend 15 to 20 hours a week learning Spanish right now. I think before I deleted the apps, I was doing like 3 to 4 hours a day on social media and just scrolling and consuming who the heck knows what. And now I'm s- I have the same amount of time, but I'm just using it again with a delayed gratification mindset because now I'm like, "Oh, I know where I want to be able to travel to Spain and talk to people. I want to be all around Latin America and communicate. I want to listen to music and understand what's being said. I want to talk to my grandmother in her mother tongue." All of that, and that's the delayed gratification. It is hard sometimes learning a new language and sucking at it. Ew. It would be so much easier to be scrolling, but I had to get my mental fortitude right to be able to be like, I know the woman that I want to become, and I know what's distracting me from getting there. And it took me like 3 years of acknowledging the distraction to finally make a change. So it's not like all of a sudden I woke up one day and I'm like, ooh, I'm Superwoman. It was like, no, it takes time. But our hope with these conversations is that it plants a seed. This seed can sprout today and you can start watering it and something beautiful can grow from it. Or maybe it's 5 years from now that the seed starts growing, or maybe it never grows. And that's fine too. So, with that, Erin, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about meditation and how cultivating that internal focus can bring about so much change and positivity for us, especially in our mental well being.
Absolutely. So, first off, I want people to know that, first of all, I want to ask this: how many people actually know about meditation, or you do meditation? If you can say yes or no. Again, no judgment, but I just want to know. So if you do meditation, you can say yes. If you don't, then you can just put no. But I want you to look at this idea. When you get sick, what do you take? Medicine. Whenever something goes wrong with you and you need antibiotics, you take medicine. vacation. So when you look at meditation, it's literally a natural, free, self-healing sense that you can use within your mind. Now, I know most people, when we think about meditation, because I did not before this, I didn't meditate. I didn't think about meditation because it was boring to me. I didn't know anything about it. But once I studied it and realized what it was, once again, when I lost everything, all I had was myself and my thoughts. And being in my car, homeless and couldn't go anywhere, all you have is your brain to get out of it. So, meditation literally is a way for you just to pause from what you're doing in life and actually go into your head. I'll even make it cooler for you. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, the first one specifically, put 111 in the chat because I'm going to relate it to how cool it is. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, do you remember when Morpheus took Neo into the chamber of his mind, a white room, and he was showing him everything? At first, Neo was freaking out because it's like, this is all that's going on in the world. This is what I've been ignoring. Yes. But after he literally showed him that, what came next? Now I'm going to help you unlock. Oh my God, I know Kung Fu. I know this. I know that. I've literally discovered how to do that with meditation. Meditation is literally just going within your head and fixing and seeing what's going on. But I know most people are like this. And I've heard people say this. Do you meditate? No, I'm afraid to go into my head. What? And most people don't recognize that if you are afraid to go into your head and see what's going on, your outside world is a reflection of your inner. If you're thinking negative thoughts, your outside world becomes negative. If you have that repeated cycle that you can't break that habit, it becomes a part of your world. And a lot of us are so on autopilot that we don't even recognize we're on autopilot. So I can tell you, but I want to I'll show you how cool and awesome it is. So Kira, can I do a 1 minute meditation to show everybody something? All it's going to take is 1 minute.
Please, this is all we've ever needed. Go
Okay,
ahead.
excellent. Now, I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is, how you can meditate and the benefits from it. Okay. So if you are able to close your eyes, do so. If you can't, that is perfectly fine.
Wait,
But I
can I
want to,
pause for 1 second?
yes,
Before you even shut your eyes, acknowledge how you're feeling right now, because we're going
yes,
to do the thing. And then I want you to know, I want you to be very aware of the shifts that come from 60 seconds.
yes. And that's why I love Kira so much because that's literally what I was going to say. You see how there, I literally
Thank
was
you.
going to say that. Yes. So, yes, before you close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, I want you to start off by breathing in through your nose very slowly and out through your mouth. The reason I'm having you breathe in through your nose is because your nose goes to the bridge of your brain, of your third eye, which is where your crystal and your mind is. That's energy superfying that. And when you breathe out the energy, it's like the exhaust from an engine. It needs to leave out. So slowly breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to think about how you are feeling at this very moment in time. I'm going to show you two things. How are you feeling right now? If it's crappy, if it's great, if it's not, how are you feeling? Feel what that is. Now, I want you to think about the worst parts of your life, okay? And you're in a safe place. Think about the worst parts of yourself. And as you do, how does it make you feel? Does your chest tighten up? Do you get stiffened? Are you scared? Focus on how the worst parts of your area right now, just to acknowledge it. How do you feel? Now, after you recognize that, I'm going to shift your awareness. Remember, just keep breathing. Now, I want you to take a journey with me. We're going to look at the greatest parts. I want you to imagine all of us on a beach right now. We're on a beach, we're walking in the sand. The sun is out, it's at a perfect temperature. It's everybody's got their favorite drink, whether it's water, pina colada, whatever it is. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. There's no bills in the world, there's no stress. We live here, we're in the best position. See the sand, feel the sand, see everybody high-fiving, everybody's just loving, enjoying, see the water playing in it. Feel that vibration, feel that energy. And as you're on the beach, now see how you feel. How does it feel to actually see and think that you are in that environment? Notice how that feels. And on a count of five, I'm going to ask you to open up your eyes. One, two, three, four, and five. Now, that probably was like a minute and 30 or maybe 2 minutes, but how did you feel before when you meditated and you was thinking about everything negative? And notice how easy it was for you to shift your thinking to something positive. That's what meditation is. Step one, you want to close your eyes and acknowledge how you're feeling. And if you're not feeling that great, that's okay. But a simple shift in your awareness to where you start thinking about where you want to be in life, all the great and positive things, that's now going to start to make you feel better. The reason I said pay attention to your feelings is because your feelings are an exact replica of what's going on in your mind. When you don't feel great, your body's letting you know. But when you feel great, it is also letting you know. So if you take time, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 minutes within the day just to meditate little by little, like I said, it doesn't have to be a big time, but take little by little chances in meditating. Listen to affirmations. I'm amazing. I'm wise. I'm true. I can. I am successful. My business is great. My family is great. When you put those repeat buttons inside of your mind, now what's going to happen is you're going to tune out that ego side of you that doesn't like certain things, and you're going to start to tune in great things. And I promise you, what you want in life, if you focus on that, you are going to be the Neo of your life and bring that awareness closer to you.
Mm.
And by the way, I'll say this last thing: YouTube Academy, 100% for free. So you can look up guided meditations, you can look up perfect affirmations, 100% for free. I literally was on YouTube Academy for all 7 years, studying and listening to sound frequencies and meditation. I'm listening to meditation music right now, but you all can't hear it. So there's no excuse anymore. Take that time to just put on some music, listen, and let yourself guide to that next level.
Mm.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Also, a little plug before Christopher, you begin closing us out with your final topic on authenticity, which is so important. Tomorrow, Thursday, you will receive an email from me with obviously everything always Motivational Monday. Our Motivational Monday recording of this Monday session, specifically about meditation that Aaron and I did, will be in there. So if you're wanting to dive a little bit deeper, have a 30-minute deep dive into meditation, then you've got it right there. So without further ado, Christopher, we would love to hear from you.
So we've talked about attention. Equally important on that other side of the infinity loop is your intention. With a refined intention, your attention can become like a searchlight, like a piercing laser beam as to what you're giving your focus and your awareness to. I love that Aaron highlighted meditation as being so non-negotiable in life. For me, it's the same. And what I've realized in my meditative journey is that if my intention is clear, then my attention corresponds at a level that I don't really have to strive so hard. There's no like figuring it out and got to barrel through it and make it happen. It becomes very clear when the intention is authentic. And this word authenticity, I've really been diving deep into my own life and sharing that with the world, is that at any given moment, you are the author of your life. Whether you're consciously aware of it or not is irrelevant, but you are indeed writing the story of your life. Now, you can bring a refined intention to deliberately writing the story of your life, and that doesn't mean that unexpected things won't happen. In fact, those are essential. That's what makes life spicy and fun, and it's the unpredictability of it. But this authenticity of truly knowing that you are the author of your life at any given moment, for me, is extremely empowering, and it's liberating, and it's freeing, and it's all the aspects that I, as a fellow Aquarian, love and strive for, which is unbridled, relentless freedom. And I don't think it's just Aquarians. I think all souls inherently yearn for that unbridled, relentless freedom. So in the authority of your own being, knowing that you are writing the story of your life, we're just bringing awareness to patterns, which I would say is what I term or define meditation is I'm just bringing awareness to pattern. And as that awareness increases, consciousness increases, everything enhances because you're shining your light of your own true authenticity, which is who you truly are.
So beautiful. And authenticity is acknowledging that you have a monkey mind that struggles right now to stay focused for more than 5 seconds when you're meditating without going elsewhere. And
Mhm.
meditation, like Aaron said, it doesn't have to be like you sitting alone in a quiet, dark room underneath a tree for 17 days like a Buddha. It can be like listening to a YouTube video for 3 minutes, and that's more than enough. But authenticity really does come from acknowledging the light and the dark. And the reason why authenticity is so important, and Christopher highlighted it so beautifully, is because you can't go anywhere if you don't know where you are right now.
Mhm.
If you have no idea where you're at, where are you going to go? How are you going to tell anyone? How are you going to be able to move forward? So that level of authenticity is really important, and it can be hard to be authentic in the times when maybe we never knew that, or maybe it was never shown to us, or maybe we're struggling and we don't want to be and we want to pretend everything's good. But you deserve the wholeness that comes from being a full existing human being. And you deserve also what it feels like to be well in yourself and in your mind. So, with that being said, we are coming to an end of our mental well-being conversation. There's a Q&A button at the chat or at the bottom. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat and we are happy to answer them for you as we're coming to a close of this session. Or if you feel like we just hit the nail on the head with everything that we said, that's fine, and you don't have to ask questions, but that space is absolutely there for you. And while you all are typing your mind-bending questions for us, I've got a couple of things for us. So we have our live coaching session next week with me, Aaron, and Christopher, where essentially what happens is we use that worksheet that we've been using today, and we're going to help you get focused on your mental well-being, because maybe some of you don't know where to start, or maybe you have your own blocks or hurdles that you don't know how to get over, or maybe you're like, I've never prioritized it and it's a little scary and I just want to hear people talk about it and maybe help me get there. It's a more intimate setting. It's really sweet. It's really connected. And you're safe and you're seen, and it's meeting style, so you can unmute yourself, we can hear your voice, we can see you, and it's definitely more of that community space. Everything Life Guides is going to be accessible through this link that I'm dropping here now. All of our recordings for all of our larger sessions with our Connect sessions are there. Financial well-being, being human first, rooted in well-being, they're all there. You can also find our YouTube link there, I believe. And then the last and final thing is I've got Aaron's profile and Christopher's profile that I'm dropping in the chat for you. If you all felt a connection to these two wonderful gentlemen, I highly suggest booking a call. The version of me and the version of Christopher and the version of Aaron that you see here is the same version that you'll get on booking a call, but it'll be attention focused on you. Right? Attention focused on you and helping you get to where you're supposed to be, or helping you maybe see the things that you haven't seen yet. So we
We do have a
have,
question. I
yeah,
see.
go ahead.
So someone asks, what is a meditation type that changed how you practice? For example, Zen, loving kindness. I can tell you, I practice them all. Think about it like this: when you go into an ice cream shop, you may like one flavor, but maybe you want to get a dabble of little bits. Try every little thing, because I know it can be overwhelming. But step one, you definitely want to breathe. So I did Zen, I did mindfulness, I did affirmations, and I just kept going and going and going. But at the end of the day, if you just start, the rest will literally follow. So I would suggest just going into finding out more about what meditation is on YouTube. And go again, there's a lot of AI and storybooks and storytelling ways to do it, which I love. But just start trying something out with the breathing meditations, and then type in what type of meditations are there. And whatever suits your fancy, just test each one to actually see, and the rest will follow. Because you may start differently where I didn't start, but I definitely will say learning exactly what meditation is will help you to discover what it is that you want to deal with. But the breathing exercises and the Zen is a perfect opportunity. All of them are actually great. So it's wherever you want to start.
Thank you. I didn't even see the question. My chat box was blocking it. But thank you all so much for being here. It is officially the top of the hour. If you would like more of me and Christopher and Aaron, come and catch us next week. The recording will be dropped in your of this session will be dropped in your inbox on Friday. And outside of that, we hope you have an amazing week. We hope that your mental well-being continues to skyrocket from here, and we wish you all well. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week.
Peace.